Who you coming first? Can y'all give Miss Jenney a hand, please? You want to go up?
You want me to go up? Good morning. I am Jenney Eldridge, the Executive Director and founder of Haven Homes. I say that very humbly. And I want to thank y'all so very much, and Augustine and his precious wife for having us here today. It's such a blessing to be here with you. I thought these youth were going to sing themselves. They are? Okay, good deal. I can't wait to hear it. Because this is our next generation. All righty. So I want to share with you just a little bit of history concerning Haven Homes. I've got a couple of our wonderful residents who are going to come and share today a little bit about their experience, strength, and hope as they journeyed through Haven Homes. And I don't want to bore you with a lot of this, but a lot of people do not know that we started Haven Homes 9 years ago. And one of the things that I want to say today to encourage you, if God has planted something in your heart to do, don't say, I can't. Don't say, I can't. Don't say, I don't know how to do it. I don't have the money to do it. I love this scripture right here. Faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. There's no reason I should be standing here today. No reason outside of God. And everything that has happened in this ministry has happened because God did it. He did it. I mean, there's no way. There's no way. Started this ministry 9 years ago, walking around my block right after school was out, taught school for 20 years, taught little people. Knew nothing about drugs and alcohol except what I experienced in my own home. I have 3 sons. 2 of them are alcoholic addicts. One of them has been in recovery for 8 years, has an incredible counseling ministry in Texarkana called Olive Tree Counseling, and amazing man with a wonderful family, 3 of my precious grandchildren. And then I have a middle son. Everybody goes, we didn't know you had a middle son. Well, he kind of moved away, got out of the chaos, and he and his wife have a wonderful home up in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and both own their own businesses and do wonderful up there. And then had my baby boy a little late in life, and he's the one that took me on this journey. I tell my oldest one, he was a little more high class with his. He didn't get a lot of legal trouble. He didn't stay there a real long time. Well, he would dispute that with me. He would say, Mom, I was there a lot longer than you knew I was. But anyway, baby boy kind of took us on a real roller coaster of a ride, and today we're still in the battle, but we're winning, and we are winning. We are winning the battle. So very thankful for that, but I've never been an alcoholic addict. I have my own issues. I promise you I have them. But it was an alcohol addiction, so I didn't know a lot about it. But one summer, the summer before I planned to retire from teaching school, I got a phone call. I had left my house day after school was out, going to walk around my block, get this phone call. This lady's on the other side saying, Jenney, you've got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And I'm like, I got to do what? And she said, well, you've talked to me about this. There's a need for it. You need to do it. I didn't know. I knew there was a need, but I didn't know exactly what that need was. So many years ago, Henry Blackaby wrote a book about and a study, and some of you probably are familiar with it. And in that study, he said, find out where God's working and get in on it. And so I thought, I hung the phone up. I said, I'll pray about this. As I was walking around my block, I honestly prayed about it. And I said, God, what is she talking about? What do I need to do? And that word came to my heart. Find out where God's working and get in on it. So at that time, several of us were going out to Bowie County Women's Center, and we were doing a Bible study. And I was watching a lot of those women get ready to leave that program where they got incredible skills, incredible life skills, were getting their life together, but some of them didn't have anywhere to go. They were going back to the street, which they didn't need to. They were going to homeless shelters. They were going to Salvation Army, and that was breaking my heart. But I never thought about you could do something about that. So as I continued to pray, picked up the phone, have a niece who's an attorney in Houston. She and I had talked about some of these things along the way. Called her and I said, Jamie, this is what's happening. She said, don't worry about anything else. I've got it. I've got all the legal stuff you need to do, because I had no idea. I'd taught school. I never ran a nonprofit, didn't really know what a nonprofit was, didn't know you had to have a board of directors, didn't know you had to raise money. If somebody had sat down and told me all of it, I probably would have sit back down and not done anything. But they didn't. Took little bitty pieces, one at a time. So she got all of that worked out for me. And then somebody did tell me I had to have a board of directors, so I didn't know what I was doing, but I just started asking people, put a little board of directors together, and that board of directors said, Jenney, you've got to have $10,000 before we're going to do one thing. And I went, oh my goodness. I had just come through a divorce of 40 years, was getting ready to retire from teaching school, and love the state of Texas and teaching school in Texas, but I don't know that they take care of their teachers very well. But anyway, it was all good. We don't have to depend on the state or the government to take care of us, because God does. So I thought, I have no idea how we're going to do this. Within, I don't know the exact number of days or weeks, but I promise you within 30, 60 days, we had $10,000. I couldn't tell you today where that came from. We had a little lady in my church who came to me and said, Jenney, if you're going to do this was in August. She said, people are going to start getting ready for the holidays. We need to put out some boxes so people can start putting stuff in them, because you're going to need a lot of stuff for this home. We went and leased our first home. There were boxes all over our church. People were putting things in them. When we opened up our first home, we didn't have to buy one thing except a refrigerator. Everything was taken care of. I did not know this, but 1 year later, we would have outgrown that one home, and we were going to have to get another home. We had so much stuff given to us the first year, we had enough in storage to open the second home. I'm going to make this long story real short. From that $10,000, in 2019, God led us. He got a little bit ahead of me. Can you imagine that? He got ahead of me. And the men at Celebrate Recovery started telling me we needed a home for men. And I went, okay, we need a home for men. That means we need men. And I began to pray and just throw it out, throw it out, throw it out. It took about a year, and God gathered some men that said, we have a heart for this, we want to do it. And so today we have a 44-bed facility at the corner of 7th and Lake Drive. For our men, Haven Homes for Men, and God has done amazing, miraculous things through that ministry. I'm going to cry. Amazing things. We've had over 200, probably now close to 300 women who have come through our 2 Haven Homes for Women in the last 9 years, and we have some God's stories, and you're going to get to hear one of those today. But I knew that even though those men got a little step ahead of me, and it was probably God that got a step ahead of me, I knew we were supposed to have a home for women coming off the street, out of jail. Parents drive up just like they do with our men, drop them off, can't do this anymore, help us, all that kind of stuff. But I knew we needed a home for women, because I was getting calls every day, we need a home for women. So at the beginning of this year, I told my board, I said, you know what, and they are the most wonderful, gracious, they know so little about alcoholism, addiction, most of them, but they are so on board with me, and they have such a heart for this. And I said, you know what, we need to make this move. We have some people that have been giving, and we need some movement here toward this thing. So we started looking and raising funds, and from that $10,000, we're this close to $1 million for that home for our women. This close. It amazes me. It astounds me. I wake up every day just blown away and getting on my knees. I have a little bag of mustard seed that sits on the back of my stove, and I look at that bag of mustard seed and go, God, this is the only way we can do it. Only you can do this. And so we are looking for land for that home. We're still in the process of doing that. I have never seen men on my board that are more excited about anything in my life. I mean, they call me every day. Well, we found this and we found this and but you know, God's going to show us when we find the right thing. He's going to show us. And so we will have a 25-bed facility for women, just like we have for our men. And in the meantime, I still knew we needed some movement. And so we were going to have a transition home for our men, and God gave us that transition home. And the men just took ownership of that home, and they went in and they put everything in it. They put all the furniture in it. They got it ready. And it happens to be right in front of my church. And so I was driving out of my church a few weeks ago, and God said, that's your women's home. And I went, oh, this is not going to be good. This is not going to be good. And so I called some people that needed to know what God had just said. And I said, this is what I feel like I'm hearing. It might have been the bad pizza I ate last night, but I don't think so. So worked through that little process, realized we may not be quite ready for that transition. God knew that before I did. And went to my staff who had taken ownership of that home, our men's staff, and said, guys, this is what I feel the Lord is saying. And I was waiting for the rumble. I was waiting for you've lost your mind now. Well, that's ours. Those men looked at me and said, that's exactly what needs to happen with that home. And so it was walk-in ready. Now, I will say this. It needed some fluff. Need a little fluff. So we're fluffing it up. We're opening tomorrow. We have room for 7 women, but as God sees fit, He brought one to us a little before time, because He always puts me out there on the water and says, trust me. And when God opens that door, we move. So we've got one precious woman in that home today, and God's moving in her life. I believe that. I trust that today. And we're not going to leave them on the street any longer. We have so many recovery houses being raised up in Bowie County right now. I've spoken to every one of those directors of every one of those homes, and I've said, we are not in competition. We are not. We are taking this city back, this county back, this state, this nation back from everything, all the destruction that the enemy has tried to bring into the lives of people. And so I want to share some scriptures with you. I had my brochure sitting out, Augustine, but I fly by the seat of my pants, so I ended up with one in my purse. I guess I left the others on the couch. You will get them. So when I started this, the Lord gave me some scriptures to build our home zone. One of them is, and I lost my bifocals, folks, so I'm doing this. I don't have time to look for them, so I'm just switching back and forth right now. Isaiah 32:18. My people will live in peaceful dwelling places, in secure homes, in undisturbed places of rest. That is what our homes are. Our homes are safe places. They are places of security, and they're places of undisturbed rest. That's what we desire for our people. We don't. Isaiah 32:18. We don't put up with a lot of chaos in our homes. If you're there to create chaos, we love you. But sometimes we love you back to the street because you're just not ready. Some people are just not ready. And so I say that with a lot of love in my heart. We don't do that real quickly, but we give warnings. But if the chaos continues, then it's just not time. And so these people need a safe, restful places. Many of them have not had rest in a long time. Many of them have not felt safe in a long time. So that's what we provide in our homes. And then Psalm 32, 7, you are my hiding place. You will protect me from trouble and surround me with songs of deliverance. And that's exactly our desire, is that we are a 12-month program. And so we desire by the time that the men and women that God brings to us leave our homes, that they are walking in total deliverance, totally set free from all the bondage that the enemy has tried to put them through. So with that being said, nothing can say it better than someone who has been there, experienced it, walking through it. So I brought 2 of our residents today to share just a couple of minutes with you about their journey through Haven. Sean, would you come and share with us, please? And then Georgie will be up to share. Okay. You want who? Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you meant Miss Katie. She's about to melt in that chair.
Good morning. Can y'all hear me okay without this? No? Okay. All right, I'm Sean. I'm Mahaffey. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and without Jesus Christ, I would still be a drunk and a drug abuser. 14 months ago or so, I came to Haven Homes, and I was dressed about like I am now, so I think when I went in there, they didn't know what I was doing. They thought I was a visiting minister or something. And so I came in, I'm like, hi, how y'all doing? Like, fine, how you doing? So I'm here to check in. I'm like, what's wrong with you? How long you got? You know, how much time do you have? And I talked with Reverend Fultz first, and I didn't know how to get into Haven Homes. So I didn't know what to say. So I was honest, and he asked me, do you ever hear voices? I'm like, well, yeah. You know, are you manic or bipolar? Yeah. Well, I don't think this is a place for you. And I was like, okay. God told me to come in here, so let me think for a minute. And then Greg walked in, and he asked me those questions, and I said the same thing. I said, truthfully, he said, do you ever hear voices? I'm like, well, yeah, but I think everybody kind of does. And, you know, I think sometimes they're from the flesh, sometimes they're the world, sometimes they're the devil, sometimes they're memories, sometimes they're dreams, sometimes they're what I read yesterday. We all hear voices, radio or whatever. What's important is what are they saying, and is it true? And that's true everywhere. What are the voices saying, and is it true? When you hear the Word of God proclaimed, when you hear it on the radio, when you read a book, when you watch TV and movie, when you let your kids have those little devices, those little scrying devices that are like... Yes, sir. Okay. Hello. Don't let any lies into your house. Don't let your children see or hear things that are ugly, ugly lies without pointing them out. Now, we watch ugly lies sometimes. We watch Scar on the Lions, what's the one? The Lion King. We watch Scar lie, but we know who the hero is. Keep your eyes on the hero, kids, whenever you're watching a movie. Okay? Just keep watching the hero. If the bad guy's scary, watch the hero. So we let lies in if we point out the truth and the lies lose. But in general, if lies are running around in your head, run them out. Just draw near to God, resist the devil, he'll flee from you. Draw near to God, speak the truth in love to yourself, meditate on good things, and those bad ideas, bad memories, bad words, bad things that you've got in your head, those intrusive thoughts that run around, they'll stop. If you'll just rejoice, be anxious for nothing, give thanks, and all that. So I went through all of that while I was talking to Greg Reed for a few minutes. We're both nurses. both in recovery, so I kind of knew how to talk to him a little better. I made my way in there because I am bipolar, and I have been a vodka abuser and an opiate abuser at the hospital, and have used over-the-counter medications with a lot more numbers than you're supposed to, taking a lot more of it than you're supposed to. Never did trust street drugs because I was a pharmacy tech and a nurse and all that. It just seems dumb. But, yeah, okay. If I'm down here like this, then I'm probably saying stuff y'all, that God didn't want me to share too openly anyway. All right. So, but in the end, I made it to Haven Homes, and that's where my story ends and begins. Didn't meet Miss Jenney right then, did a little bit later, but Haven Homes was a place right away the first few days of rest. It was just peaceful. I didn't hear voices all the time, yelling at me, screaming, homeless people. I was a nurse for 11 years, a minister for 8 years. I stepped down in 2011 from the ministry and gave up my license, gave a voluntary surrender on my license because of drugs and alcohol. So in 2011, I lost a lot of things. 2008, we lost a lot of money. 2011, I gave up my reputation. I gave up my nursing license, and I stepped down from the ministry. 2012, I lost my house. 2015, I lost my trust with my wife. 2017, she divorced me. 2017 to 2020 was rough. I was homeless. I lived in houses that were abandoned. 2 friends let me stay in their houses at various times. I stayed at Union Station. Still got backpacks scattered all around the city and, things at parks and all that. I just left them around. And I just tried to do the best I could. I went to all the ministries, and I just lived off the land. It was like episode 36 of Sean and the Serengeti, Texarkana version. And I just did what I could because my mind was kind of broken. I was lost. I was confused. Didn't know where to go or what to do. And God kept telling me to go to a place of rest. And I went into Bowie County for one of my frequent inspections there, visits. I got arrested 11 times in about 4 years, all for little minor misdemeanors. Thank God I never had a felony. I can still vote in November and still go hunting and all that. But I've got like 11 misdemeanors. And it was because I was homeless, and I was lost, and I was confused, and I was on over-the-counter medications, and I would drink sometimes, and I didn't know where I was or what I was doing. And God just kept telling me, go to Haven Homes. I didn't know what that was. I met a guy named David Howard in Bowie County. He had been at Haven Homes before, and he said, yeah, I go to Haven Homes. And I was like, all right. And then I got out, and I got my nice clothes back on, and I went back on doing what I was doing. I was like, I'm fine, I think my mind's okay today. And I just heard that voice, God saying, go to Haven Homes. Like, I'm not sure if go to Haven Homes. Oh, okay, yes, sir. And that was it. I went. And it was just a place of rest. Okay? Real quick, a couple of scriptures. Mark chapter 2, there's a paralytic man that wants to be healed by Jesus. He can't get there. He can't get there. 4 of his friends carry his bed, and they take him to Jesus. They tear off the roof, lower him down. Jesus, seeing their faith, said, son, your sins are forgiven you. Their faith, his and theirs. And the people reasoned in their hearts, who is this man that he thinks he can forgive sins? And Jesus said, I hear your reasoning in your heart. Who can forgive sins? But to show you that I have the power to forgive sins, which is easier? Forgive sins or take up your bed and walk? And he raised up the paralytic and he walked. And in Haven Homes, I've seen men who are blind get their cataracts removed and be able to see. I've seen men who are crippled have restoration of their arms through surgery and physical therapy and all the rest. I've seen healings. I've seen blessings. But what I've seen more and more than anything else is the forgiveness in Jesus Christ. Jesus forgives sins. Only Jesus Christ is able to forgive sins, but your job is to tell people about that. Okay? Your job is to be those 4 friends who bring the paralytic. One of my favorite shows is Firefly, and there's a part in there where it says when you're pressing towards something or you're running away from something, you're trying to get to a goal. When we're heading towards the crown, you run. If you can't run, you walk. And if you can't walk, you stumble along. And if you can't stumble, you crawl. And if you can't crawl, you find somebody to carry you. Okay? That's what the paralytic did. That's what I did. I did stumble into Haven Homes that day. I walked in, but Haven Homes carried me because I couldn't go anywhere anymore. I was broken. Psalm 31 says that all my friends have fled from me. They all look at me like I've got an evil disease. They all are scared of me because I acted wild and crazy. Not mean or cussing, but just loud and manic. They all run from me. I've got an evil disease. I'm like a broken vessel. But God restored me. He fixed me. And He used Miss Jenney to do that. Yes, He did. Don't shake your head. He used Miss Jenney and Greg Reed and Reverend Fultz, and He used Brent O'Rand and Joseph Lima and 100 other guys I could name. He used Pastor Jeff Shreve, and He used the pastors at various other churches that support Haven Homes. I encourage y'all to support Haven Homes. He used pastors and men and women, people praying for us, to redeem and restore. That's what God does. So please pray for those in need, pray for those who are lost, and pray for those who are confused and hurting. And I ask that y'all bless us by praying and remembering Haven Homes in your prayers. Thank you.
Ladies, girls, where y'all at? We got the Three Musketeers.
Hello?
Yeah, it's on.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Georgie, and I'm a current resident of Haven Homes. And I was asked at the last minute to just tell my story. So this is not prepared. This is coming from the Holy Spirit within. So please bear with me, and it's got to be good if He's coming through me. So let's see. To start, I was married for about 25 years to a man that I thought was my best friend. My life was good, had 2 kids with him. I worked 3 jobs. We had a nice home. Everything was great. Life was rolling around smooth. And but there was always something missing in my life from a young age. I always felt kind of lonely, but I always tried to do the right thing. I had a good heart, made good decisions. Everything was good until November of 2013. My husband asked for a divorce, and it was granted. And come to find out, he had someone else, and my life went into a whirlwind. I moved out of my home, left everything behind, didn't want any memories of what I just experienced. I want to say it was a temporary insanity that I went through. I moved to a town called Pottsboro, Texas, where I met another man, and he introduced me to a drug called meth. And that's where my addiction started. This was in 2014. So I was at a point in my life where I just lost my best friend. I lost all the family that I knew because his family was my ex-husband. His family was my family. My family lived out of state. So that was all I knew. And now all of a sudden I was alone in the world. And I was not a Christian. I didn't have God in my life. I was very angry. So, like I said, I made a lot of bad decisions. Meth took over my world. I lost anything and everything I ever gathered. Clothes, people would break into my house, steal my things. I developed a very cold heart, and I developed hate. I turned into a monster, somebody that I didn't even know, wasn't proud of, but didn't care anymore. I got to my wit's end at one point. This was 2021, where I actually went out in my backyard and had a breakdown. I screamed to God. I cussed at God. I told him that I wanted to get off this earth. I didn't have anything worth living for. And so I screamed, yelled, and prayed for God to give me cancer, something. Just, I don't care if I have to die a miserable death. I was ashamed of who I'd become. I just wanted out. So, July of 2021, I got arrested for skipping out on probation and from drug charges. I was sent to jail, and 2 weeks into jail, I had a spiritual awakening. I was at peace. Where I came from, I was living in a junkyard, in an abandoned trailer, in a condemned home. I had no running water, no electricity. A lady down the street was providing my food. That's how I was surviving. And I came from a very middle to upper class family, so I was not used to any of this. And I was scared and alone. So anyway, when I was in jail 2 weeks later, spiritual awakening, all of a sudden a peace came over me. I knew everything was going to be okay for some reason, but I didn't know what was going to happen. Didn't know where I was going to go. Thought I was going to prison. But by the grace of God, they sent me to Bowie County Women's Center. I was there for a month and then diagnosed with cancer. So I got what I prayed for. The day before I was to have my first surgery in January, my sister that I hadn't spoke to in 20 years reached out to me and told me my mother passed away. So she didn't get to see the new me, which I deeply regret. But I feel she was my guardian angel going through my cancer. And then when I had my first lumpectomy, they didn't get it all, so I had to go back for a second. And then they told me I'd have to have chemo and radiation. So they didn't know where I was going to go, or I didn't know where I was going to go. I couldn't go back home. They were going to medically discharge me, and I had no place to go. And by the grace of God, Haven Homes came along. They voted to have me come to there. Normally, you have to go through Bowie County Women's Center for a year, so you have the skills and the training to go to Haven Homes.
some miracle happened where they did the work behind the scenes, and Miss Jenney's, I'm sorry. I'm so grateful that they voted me to come to that home, because this is the only family I really have. They provided a roof over my head. They gave me my own room with my own bathroom for when I would get sick. They provided me clothes. They helped me get my medical insurance, food stamps, everything that I needed. And if it wasn't for Haven Home, I don't know where I would be. I'd probably be dead by now. So I strongly recommend, if you're lost and you don't have hope, or you go down the wrong path, to not give up, and don't pray for things that you don't want to happen, because God does hear you. I'm a newborn Christian, and I'm a firm believer in God and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. And I love Miss Jenney. I love everything she does and she stands for. She's a beautiful woman with a beautiful heart. And I just thank you guys for the opportunity to tell my story. Thank you.
So, this is what we do at Haven. This is what we do. Has nothing to do with me, I promise you. But some amazing people that God has touched and spoken to come along beside us, walk with us, do this deal with us. And we get up every day, I do, not knowing what the day is going to hold, what's going to happen, who He's going to bring our way, but trusting Him every step of the way. We are absolutely today, and since the conception of this ministry, we are debt-free. We have never gone into any part of our ministry with the intentions of borrowing money today, and I hope we never do. But I've got some people around me that walk in tremendous faith, so everything we have is paid for. We intend for. We will not start our women's home until we have the money raised to do it. And then the rest of what we do along the journey, as far as providing food and clothes and everything else we do for these precious people who deserve nothing but the best. I'm going to tell you, they've been to hell and back, and they deserve nothing but the best. And so until we get that money raised for our Home for Our Women, we will not start that project. But we're so close right now. And if anybody could have told me 10 years ago that we would be where we are today, I would probably have just told them they were crazy. But not today. Because today, I know more than ever before, we serve a huge God. He owns it all. There's not anything He can't do, won't do, and doesn't desire to do that is His heart. And His heart is to save this population of our society that deserves to be saved. So thank you so much for letting us be here today. Thank you for loving us, and bless you.
Thank you. All right. What I got to do is, some of you know, but for the last 10 years, my heart has been to find a home. We have to go to Tyler. We have to go to Fort Worth or to Camden or to Magnolia to take any woman to get help, because there's none here. There's no immediate home. And some of the other homes that are here, they're for women that have a bunch of kids. And some of these young ladies are young ladies. How old are you, Miss Katie? Well, some of these girls are even younger than you, and they just don't fit in. And I can't pick up any young lady or older woman without somebody accountable with me. We've got some women here that have helped take some of these women to a place. But I have a scripture that I want to speak about. I have told many of you that people that are in this situation, they didn't ask to be there. And Ms. Georgie, what you were talking about, you had no clue about the streets because you'd never been in the streets. You didn't know how to ask even for the help because you had not been there. So this is what I say. We pass these people every single day. And some of you that have rode with me, you know what I'm looking. I'm constantly looking either for a deer or a pedestrian, man or woman, because that's how my eyes are focused. That's what I'm looking for constantly. Or I'll make a loop around. I know they need help. I've had many women that I've stopped to pick up to help, or said, do you need some money? Do you need food? Are you hungry? What do you want? You want to go around the corner? Or they think that I'm there to solicit sex or to pick them up to have sex with them, because that's their mentality. You don't get nothing for nothing. That's their mentality. Why are you helping me? You want something from me? And it's sad, but that's where we're at. But I want to read this scripture. It's in Joshua 2. And I want to say this, that this scripture stood out to me today. And it was about Rahab, the prostitute. She hid 2 spies for the Israelites. And I'm in the New King James Version, or New King James, and I'm in verse 1. It says, "Now Joshua the son of Nun sent out 2 men from Arcea Grove to spy secretly, saying, 'Go view the land, especially Jericho.' So they went and came to a house of a harlot named Rahab, and lodged there." And verse 2 says, "And it was told that the king of Jericho, saying, 'Behold, men have come here tonight from the children of Israel to search out our country.' So the king of Jericho sent to Rahab, saying, 'Bring out the men who have come to you, who have entered your house, for they have come to search out all of the country.'" Verse 4 says, Then the woman took the two men and hid them. So she said, "Yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they went or where they're from. And it happened that as the gate was being shut, when it was dark, the men went out. Where the men went, I do not know, but pursue them quickly, for you may overtake them." Verse 6 says, "But she has brought them up to the roof and hidden them with stalks of flax, which she had laid in order on the roof." Verse 7 says, "Then the men pursued them by the road of Jordan and the fords, and as soon as those pursued, they had gone out and shut the gate." But this is what happened here. These men were going to give Rahab, not only her, but all of her family was going to be saved, because she kept these men from being killed. And God used a prostitute to spare her whole family. The family that had shunned her for being the trash she was. Sister, brother, oh, don't talk to me. I don't even know a sister. She's a prostitute. I don't want nothing to do with her. And many of us that have been in the streets, or many of us that have gone down the wrong road, your family wants nothing to do with you. Well, Rahab had family. I guarantee you, she had a grandpa and a dad that didn't want nothing to do with her because they were ashamed of her life. But because of her ashamedness, God sent 2 men to come to her for aid, for help. Just like Haven Homes. It's a place to be restored, to be rescued. And because of their rescue, it spared her whole family. He says, "Go get your father, your mother, your brothers, and your sisters, and your cousins, and your aunts and uncles, and bring them all. If they're in that wall, we're going to spare their lives." Now, how could a God use someone so dirty, so down low, to do his work to spare their whole family? I'll tell you how. Through forgiveness, through love and compassion, and through sharing our life with others. I don't care where you've been. The devil may throw that in your face where you've been, but God's got a story for you to tell for his glory. It isn't for anything about us, but it's all about him. Whether you're a nurse, whether you have you have a college degree, whether you've been married 20 years, 30 years, you can lose it all just like that. Just like that, your life is over. Or you spiral into a spin that you've never been in, and you're out of control. When you get shunned, when you get left out, or there's no hope left in you, you feel like nobody cares. And it feels like nobody cares. But God sent his son to care for those that say they can't be cared for. And he said, "I got a place for you." And Miss Jenney, I told you this years ago, when y'all had a gathering there at Haven Homes. I went there with some other people. I think the Hackelman brothers were there. I didn't talk to you much, but a man and woman played guitar, and I told my wife, I said, "I want to be a part of this." And I told you, I didn't have time to talk to you. I didn't get a chance to talk to you, but I told you I want to jump on board with you. And some of y'all know that we've been reaching out. We got some guys that go counsel there at your place. I went one time. I got a lot of irons in the fire. And guys, just to know where she's at. She was coming here to speak, and I wanted the quickest date. I wanted her in here before the holidays. I wanted her in here. And she said, I'll talk to you in a little while. That little while turned into tomorrow. Then tomorrow turned into the next day, and then the next day. And I said, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I'll call you in a few minutes. I'll call you right back." A week later, whoa. Now, Miss Jenney, have you seen my truck? Have you seen what's on my truck? On the windshield? He says, I'll call you right back. No, you have no idea. You have no idea. So then I call you. She's got a special date this evening when I call her. She said, no, I didn't tell him. She stepped out of where she went far away to go spend time with her family. She goes, no, I'm going to talk to you right now. What do we need to talk about? And it was about today. I don't know why you're here today. And you may say, well, that wasn't no church service to me. Well, let me just tell you something. Ms. Georgie, you had me crying over here because I was there where you were. I didn't want to live either. I didn't know I was in a spiral spin and nobody understood me. I cried to God. I yelled at him. I cussed him. I said, what do you want from me? All he wanted was my heart. And I couldn't fix what I could fix until I surrendered. I said, okay, what do you want me to do? And girl, I would have never believed that he wanted me to walk through those doors and say, dun, dun, dun. This is the Lord. He's got a sense of humor or he wouldn't bring us the way we are. And now I know y'all think I may be hefty, but I can bust a move. For Jesus, not for me, for Jesus. And there's nothing wrong with laughter as long as he gets the glory. You see, people say, well, that ain't the way we're supposed to preach the gospel, the way that guy's shaking around and making these faces. Well, if you can't be you, then you're a lie. If you can't be yourself, you're a walking liar. And listen here, I'm not here to impress you. Whether I forgot my belt. I've been pulling up my pants. I didn't have time. I didn't know where my belt was. Now, I know I put it where it was supposed to be, but I don't know where that's at. And I knew better than to ask my wife. She says, where you left it the last time. She don't make a face like that. I'm just making that up. But I will tell you this. There was testimonies given today. There was one lady that she wasn't ready to come up and talk. That's okay. But the girls that came up to sing, thank y'all. Where y'all at? Thank y'all. You didn't sing to us. You sang to the Lord. Amen. And he heard your voices. I pray that God will use you again. I want to have the ushers come up. I want to do a love offering for the Haven Homes. It'll go wherever they need it. They know where it's going to go. If you want to write a check, you can write it to the church, and we can write them one check to them later. However, if you didn't bring no cash, it's okay. We can give another time. Yeah, just you got to go grab the plates. I don't know where y'all left them. So this is my thing. If you don't have it right now, don't. They're not going anywhere. This can be something that our church is going to be doing yearly, monthly, whatever, however the Lord leads our church to do. But what I do want to do is this. There's a place for women to go now that we're going to have. Doors are going to be opened, and I'm thankful for what God's going to do. And he uses broken people to draw other broken people to say, hey, I know where you've been. I know where you're at. So you may have a story to tell. You may have a testimony to give. And I want to say this, men and women, there's days that they need counselors to go and bring a word. And if you have a heart to go and bring a message, 45 minutes or an hour, there's some that are 2-hour sessions, there's 1-hour sessions, and there are different days during the week. You can get with Ms. Jenney, you can get with the board however you want to, and you get to come and you can come and give a word if that's what you feel led to do. All I know is we're here to build God's kingdom, whether it be through a women's ministry, men's ministry, through a church, through prison ministry. We have Miss Joe that goes to the prison. That's another thing I was going to say. Miss Joe, do you go every Saturday? She goes every Saturday and sits in the waiting room and loves on the children while they're waiting to go see their dad in the prison cell or where they visit. And she takes crackers. When we raise money, she takes that money. She buys crackers for them, little gadgets for them, or does a little coloring book. She does little gadgets for them that comes out of the ministry from our youth. And she's going to bless a child, and she's there just to help the women, nurture them, pray for them, and tell them about Jesus. I'm telling you something. God's moving, and we need our help. Yes, Miss Pat?
I'd like to tell her that we have a clothes closet anytime anybody needs clothes.
Lots of clothes. Baby clothes. We have baby clothes. We have men's clothes. We have boots, shoes, brand new clothes. It's never been used. It's still got tags on it. I mean, God's been so good to us. All right. All right. Is there anything else? Anything before I close? Before I let these kids take this love offering? Yes. Here you go.
We are collecting, and I didn't mention this, non-perishable food for our home, for our women, and anything girly. There was a lot of girly things I didn't put on our list because I've been with men for 2 years. Forgot about the girly things. So anything you may want to just, if you don't have monetary donations, but you have things like that, we're taking those. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? All right. Who hadn't prayed? Want to pray for this offering for the shelter?
I'll do it.
You do?
Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for everything you give us. Please help all the sick and the poor. Help everyone else that needs help, Lord. Help everyone in this church. And in Jesus' name I pray, amen.
We're going to take this offering, then we'll have time for invitation.